89.5 FM. It's time for our first interview. I was speaking to Firdous Hendricks. Firdous, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you listen to reggae music?
I do. Not all the time because I'm working most of the time, but when I can.
Yeah. So who's your reggae artist? Let me put you on the spot there.
Oh, no, don't put me on the spot. You are.
Okay. Let me move back. Anyway, thank you very much for having time to speak to us. Firdous Hendricks is from Lalela. Lalela is a non-profit organization which also provide an educational arts program that has touched the lives of thousands of youth since the launch in 2010. Lalela also means listen, right, in isiZulu?
That is correct.
And obviously, in 2010 was the birth of so many projects,
Yes.
which were amazing. To a point where some of them had to close down because of funding or maybe because of mismanagement. So what kept Lalela going up to this day?
So when we launched our program in 2010, it was because during that school holiday program, the school holidays is when kids are most vulnerable. So a lot of them are at home, unattended, and that June World Cup period was very long holiday, and there were lots of people doing lots of different programs. A lot of it was centered around sport, and we came in with an art project, and which quickly became the most popular program in the community. And actually other volunteers from other organizations started coming to volunteer for us because the need was just so big. And we realized that this needs to be more. And so in the beginning of 2011, we started an after-school program. And I think an after-school program with grade 1s right up until grade 12. And I think the reason why we have been going for so long and we've been so successful is because we've always stayed true to our name, which is Lalela, to listen. We've listened into the communities, we've listened into the needs of the youth, and we've created our program based on what it is that our youth need in order to develop into their best selves. So yes, we do art, and it is kind of like the vehicle that our program moves with. But our vision is not to create lots of fine artists necessarily. It's the life skills behind what that process creates. And the success of our learners now, 12 years, our first grade 1 class will now finish matric this year, in our 12th year. And we now see lots of kids who have been with us, from 10 to 12 years, and we see the impact of that, and we see their personal investment in the program because it's impacted their lives so much. And I think that's, people want to support programs that work, and we have shown that we do.
And then how many people who started it, though? Do you still remember?
Well, I was actually one of the first facilitators, funny enough. And at the time, we were 4 staff members. I was working in primary school. There was a high school. There was a community development worker and a COO, and that was it. Now we've grown. We've got 25 staff members. A lot of them are from the communities that we work with. There's also a kind of process of development that happens after school. So we've grown. We're from 90 kids in 2011. We've grown to over 2,000 kids. We're now in Zimbabwe, in Joburg, and in communities all over the Western Cape.
What's crazy is I know that in some of these communities, for example, including Bondeval, Masiphumelele, Imizamo Yethu, Hendricks, and Hout Bay, there's a whole lot of them. And if you notice, most of these communities, there's a lack of resources for kids, play parks. I know that with the city of Cape Town has been trying to create these play parks for kids, from training, exercising and all that. So how was it when the organization started? Because there were few of these parks in our communities.
Yes, so we go directly into the schools. So we make use of the school facilities after school, and we run our art classes there. And we bring whatever materials we need. But the most beautiful thing, I think, is that art is such a wonderful way to actually explore the world. And that's what our program does, that it expands our learners' worlds beyond just the community that they're from. They see and they learn things that artists create that speaks about so many different issues. And we are not afraid as an organization to look at those things. So in all of those communities that you mentioned, communities on the Cape Flats, communities, they are affected by a lot of social issues that is presented to them in the community, and it can be very easy to be sucked into that. What we offer is a different way of thinking, a creative way of thinking, a critical way of thinking, a more positive way of thinking, and a belief in themselves to change that trajectory, to change that pattern, and to make better decisions for themselves. And we've seen it over and over again now that our kids are starting to graduate from high school. And, our end goal has always been that our learners are creative thinkers. They are able to think entrepreneurially, think out of the box, and that when they leave school, that they finish school and that they leave entering into a meaningful career or into tertiary education, and we support them in that process.
It's crazy to a point now, obviously, as I mentioned earlier on when I was introducing you, that most organizations had to close down because of funding. So how are you guys keeping alive?
Well, I think that we've been very meticulous about our monitoring and evaluation and making sure that our impact is shown and proven. And that has been the key component in being able to attract funding. And also, I think we are creative in the way that we approach fundraising. We are not sitting hoping for a grant that might stop. We are proactive. We're looking at how we can use art and creativity to raise money for the program. So I think thinking innovatively, creative fundraising, and thinking long-term and very realistically, we are meticulous about our budget and our spend and all those kinds of things. We're not wasting money. Those things all count. But the most important thing is that we have a very clear vision, and everybody who is on board understands that vision, and we all work towards that goal. And that has actually been key to attracting funding.
I know that during the pandemic, you guys had different programs. And what are those programs?
So it was interesting because the pandemic hit just before the March holiday program. And we were also disappointed because we had a very exciting program plan, and the kids were disappointed because they're so used to being in Lalela during the school holidays. And for us, we've always been a safe space to go to when our learners are most vulnerable. And this was the most vulnerable time that they've ever been in. They're all at home in small spaces. It's coronavirus. But besides coronavirus, there's all the other things in the community that existed before. So many of the people in the community lost work. And so, money became an even bigger issue than it already was. And we knew that we needed to be a support network. And a lot of other organizations took that time to think about what to do, and it was lockdown and we couldn't really access the learners physically. But as a team, we sprang into action quite quickly. So we launched the Lalela lockdown holiday program, where we put out projects via Facebook and WhatsApp every day, and the learners had to come up with a project or create something in their homes and post it, and then they could win a prize of data, because obviously everybody's at home and, they don't have access to data. But then we quickly realized the value in this because we were creating connections across communities. It became a space, a creative space. The learners were being positively occupied and kept in their homes in a way that's safe. But also we were educating them about the coronavirus. We were kind of spreading knowledge in that way. So we then created what we called Lalela Virtual. We assessed how the holiday program went. We honed in on our programming. We did an assessment of our learners, who has access to devices, who doesn't. And then we launched the Lalela virtual program, which was essentially WhatsApp classrooms that we held every day. And that was really effective because not only did it keep them positively occupied and safe, it also offered psychosocial support. A lot of the learners' feedback was that it helped them with their mental health during the time, and we know that was such a big issue then, still is now. But also we found that it brought families together because for the first time ever, families were all at home together, and we were providing them with activities for them to participate in together. And a lot of our parents said to us that actually the Lalela virtual program brought them closer to their children. They'd never spent that kind of time with their children before because a lot of the schoolwork is quite difficult, and we were presenting them with something that was educational but fun, and it was a bonding experience actually.
And I wanted to know this. I know that with this so-called new world that we're in now, they're saying that, in future, or actually future is now, kids won't need to go to school, wake up, go to school. They will just go to school online, work from home, study online, which is already, institutions like UCT introducing it via the high school, having their own high school online. As an organization who was working with kids via online, how is it? Do you feel like K-Flats kids are ready for online learning, or do you feel like not now?
Well, there's a lot of issues in that. I think the first thing is that kids on the Cape Flats in the communities that we work in, not everybody has access to technology, and that was a big challenge for us. So we have a long way to go as a country to get everybody on equal footing in terms of access to technology. And so in that way, definitely not. But then there is also the social aspect and the social and the lifestyle skills that comes from interpersonal connection and the emotional well-being of people. People need people. We do need each other. And so I think it's always going to be important to have that human interaction, especially for young people who are forming their personalities. They're learning how to resolve conflict. They're learning social skills. They're learning self-esteem. They're learning how to interact with others, how to collaborate. All of those things does need human interaction that is not just behind a screen. So yes, our Lalela virtual program really served us well during the lockdown, and there are a lot of benefits that came from that. It meant that we have deeper connections with our parents, and we always have those spaces that we can access when we need. But going back to physical classes really just showed us what the joy of creating things together brings in a physical way. So for me, I think, especially in South Africa, we are a long way from that because we are not on equal footing in terms of resources. But also I think people will always need human interaction.
And for Lalela, what do you guys need?
What do we need?
Yes, obviously, funding is one of them.
Yes.
But is there resources, especially now with the years ending? Do you guys feel like you're going to be doing new things, new programs? What's on the pipeline?
Well, we've got lots of different programs that we run. We've got, besides our general art program, which is from grade 1 to 12, we also have our female empowerment program focusing on grade 8 girls. We also have our leadership program where we're developing leaders. We've also got resource guides, training teachers on how to work with learners affected by trauma. So there's lots of different projects happening. Obviously, as all the organizations, we are always in need of funding for support for our projects. And it's very easy to donate to us. Our website is lalela.org, lalela.org, and there's a donate button on there. There are multiple ways that people can donate money to the program. If people don't have, money is always the best way to give to an organization because we can then determine how best to use those funds to serve our programs. However, if people want to donate something other than money, art materials are always welcome. We have a large project. We got a lot of kids, so we always need a lot of scissors and pencils and that kind of stuff, paper. So if people do want to donate art materials, they can also contact us. Our contact information is also on our website, also lalela.org. And I urge everybody to go and have a browse through. We've got a blog with lovely articles written, some by our staff, just around the different initiatives that we have been busy with. And so you can find a lot of stories, personal stories there, which is quite interesting.
We're still in Women's Month. On the line, I'm joined by Firdous Hendricks, all the way from Lalela, which is a non-profit organization providing an educational arts program that has touched lives of thousands of youth since the launch in 2010. I know that recently Lalela hosted an event for Women's Day.
We did.
Yeah, so what was it all about? Obviously celebrating women.
Yes. It was an amazing event, actually. We, so as I mentioned before, we've got a female empowerment program that we work with grade 8 girls. We've chosen specifically to work with them because it is during that time when young girls move from primary into high school that they can become very vulnerable. A school can be a very harsh environment in the communities we work in. And so we wanted to create almost like a network of sisterhood for our girls, a community of support as they enter into high school, and a space where they can dream and educate the girls on how powerful their voices are, and that, you know, that they don't have to fall into the patterns of what the community has taught them. And it's been a really successful program. And so for Women's Day, part of that program is also looking at other female role models and mentorships and looking at what is possible for them through other women who can inspire them. So for Women's Day, we reached out to some young, inspiring women in South Africa who are doing good work. We had a range. We had designers, we had writers, we had DJs, we had community activists, we had musicians, people from all different industries. And these women spent a day with our girls. And they did a beautiful process called a heart map. It's one of our signature curriculums, where we paired a girl with one of the mentors, and they interviewed each other about their lives, about where they come from, what their talents and passions are, what their challenges and fears are, what their dreams are for the future. And then they created an artwork for each other and gifted it to each other. So the mentor had an opportunity to really get to know the young girl and inspire them, and the young girl got to really get to know the mentor and be inspired by them. And to walk away with such a personal representation of that interaction and all those learnings, it was really beautiful. And I think the girls walked away learning a lot and feeling really inspired and feeling like they can believe in themselves. And I think for the mentors, they also walked away equally as inspired and learning equally as much. And for us, it's important also to create that network for our kids, because, you know, your network is your net worth. And for our learners, their network is generally within their community. So we give them the opportunity to expand that world, to meet people outside of that. And that brings so much enrichment to their lives. So yeah, it was a really wonderful day, and a lot of those connections, I think, will live on.
Firdous, quickly, again, if people want to get hold of you and the organization, how can they do it?
They can go to our website. It's Lalela, Lalela.org. And you can find our contact information there. You can find our donate button that you can donate in various different ways. You can go to our blog and read all of the stories about what we've been doing and the impact we've had.
Firdous, thank you very much. May the organization grow further, bigger and bigger.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Before I let you go, quickly, what we usually do on the show is we ask our guest to give us a line or words or of encouragement, especially for our listeners listening now who might be going through a lot. What would you like to say?
I think I'd like to say to the listeners that every moment and every action counts, and that you should never underestimate the power of your kindness or your grace when interacting with others. I think I would like to just leave that there.
I'm not going to add any further on those beautiful words. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for
giving
us time.
That is Firdous Hendricks, all the way from Lalela, speaking to us regarding the organization and also some of the programs they do in our different communities.